Hey, what's going on, guys? Right now it's raining outside, so I'm sorry if you can't hear me as well as you would if it wasn't. But we are working on a 1962 MGA, and this is the 1600 second version, the deluxe. The MGA 1600 Mark II was only around between 1960 and 1962. And in that time, they only made about 9,000 of these British two-door sports cars. The Mark II's engine size was increased from the Mark I to 1622 centimeters. The cylinder head was also revised with larger valves, re-engineered combustion chambers. It also was a more relaxed vehicle with higher speeds. The Mark II also had some cosmetic changes done as well. Now I'm getting this car ready for the St. John's Chamber of Commerce. They do a car show here at the Sawgrass, which is where the TPC is held every year. We're getting this car ready for the car show, so we're going to be doing the protection and speed package. I'm going to walk you through a couple steps. We've already washed the vehicle, and there was a couple different ways that I washed it. I don't wash it normally like a regular car because of the fact that this is original paint and the fact that it's a little bit softer, a little bit more delicate. So instead of washing it with a mitt, I'd actually washed it with a towel by hand very delicately. I'm going to show you now how I'm going to clay it, and then we're going to seal it, and then I'm going to put on top of, I'm using ammo products, on top of the synthetic sealant. And we're going to wrap this paint in to protect it. I'm also going to put Carnauba wax. And the only reason why I'm going to put Carnauba wax is because he's actually showing it at a car show. I wouldn't usually put this on a normal car, everyday driver vehicle, because Carnauba wax burns up after about 100 degrees. Synthetic sealant is man-made. It's synthetic. And what it is it's designed specifically to protect the paint from any kind of scratches or maybe dirt hitting the paint, anything like that, making sure things don't stick to it. The problem is that it kind of takes a little bit of that real wet, dark look out of the paint that I like. So what I do is I'll put Carnauba wax on it. Now Carnauba wax is natural from Brazil, from a leaf. There's pros and cons to that. The pro is that it's going to look absolutely magnificent on this car. The con is that because it's natural, it's not as durable. It's going to burn up. It's not going to protect the paint as well. And the difference between the selection of whether I want it to look great or protect the paint is absolutely not an option with me. So we're going to do both. We're going to layer them. And the good thing about ammo products is they're not going to haze. If you try to layer different chemicals together, sometimes they'll take, sometimes they won't, sometimes they'll have like a real hazy look. Ammo products absolutely won't. I'll pull the camera and I'll really show you that it will look crystal clear right through all the way to the color. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so before we get into actually what I'm going to be doing to this car, let me talk to you a little bit about why it's so important to protect your paint. Now, I understand the technology is changing and the fact that people have been cleaning their cars the same way is kind of absurd. And yes, the clear coat does protect the paint, does make it look shiny, but here's the thing. Without protecting it without wax, your clear coat is very vulnerable. UV rays will actually tear your clear coat apart. If you've ever seen cars where it's two shades of different color, it's that clear, it looks like plastic coming off, that's your clear coat. You've only got about 2 mils of clear coat, which if you stick your two fingers, your thumb and your index finger, between a post-it note, you have a mil, less than that, of clear coat. That's what you have protecting your very delicate, very expensive paint. Now, waxing and things like that, it's something that is there's not a lot of information about, not a lot of people know about it. So when they say they want their car waxed, well, there's different types of waxes. There's spray wax, there's liquid wax, there's synthetic wax, there's Carnauba wax, there's different reasons for using them, all of these things. And they're all great, but unless they're used properly, are absolutely useless. Now the reason why I'm using synthetic sealant to protect the paint is because I want to protect it from UV damage first and foremost. I want to make sure we're here in sunny, hot Florida, especially with this car being black, your paint is going to get up to about 160, super hot, and without it being protected, very vulnerable. Think of it this way. The best analogy that I can come up with is an analogy that Larry from Ammo NYC kind of gave all of the trainees that he showed us some videos to. And the analogy is that a car's paint has pores, it breathes, and it's like skin. And the fact that you don't hydrate it is like your skin not being hydrated. It's going to crack, it's going to flake, it's going to dry out. You have to hydrate your paint, you have to hydrate your leather, you have to hydrate your interior, just like you hydrate your skin. So what this synthetic sealant is going to do is it's going to hydrate and lock in that key protection onto our paint. The Carnauba wax is going to go over top, which we talked about briefly, which is going to just bring out the paint depth and the shine, which is great. Here's the thing, it is absolutely key to protect your paint, especially here in Florida, but no matter where you are, to protect it from the UV damage, but also when you're driving with small rocks, dirt, things like that might hit your car. What it's going to do is instead of skidding off of the clear coat and scratching your clear coat, making you, unfortunately, have to do a paint restoration in the near future, what it's going to do is it's going to impale in the wax, and that's it. Then when you come back the next week on your Sunday wash, you're going to wash the contaminants from the wax, apply more wax. So the idea is that the clear coat is never going to be exposed. With this car, because it's my client, we're going to make sure that that happens. So what we're going to do is, if this is the clear coat, we're going to add synthetic sealant on top of the clear coat. I'm going to add 2 layers of hydrate, and then a liquid wax, and then a Carnauba wax. Okay, so we have a lot of protection on top of this clear coat. And what happens is, when the drives get longer, the shows get around to the next summer, and the car is more exposed, the clear coat, again down here, the wax is all up here, the wax is going to start disintegrating. That's just how it happens. There's no magic pill that completely protects your paint for 7 or 8 years. There's nothing like that. So it's going to start disintegrating, it's going to start getting chiseled by all the contaminants flying around when you're driving. Well, the next week when I come to wash this car, I'm going to reapply more wax. The clear coat is never going to be exposed again. And then in about 3 or 4 months, what I'll do is I'll strip all the wax off again, because the synthetic sealant has kind of had a little rough break. Then we're going to reapply more synthetic sealant, and then we're going to do the process all over again. 2 layers of hydrate, liquid wax, Carnauba wax on this paint. So the paint's never going to be exposed. So, protection from UV damage, protection from contaminants when you're driving, scratches. These are why you use synthetic sealant. It's not so much to make it look nice, that is an added bonus, but the real key is why I call it protection is key package. The real key is protecting the paint. You're protecting your investment, you're protecting your car from having to do a paint restoration, because again, you only have 2 mils of clear coat. That's not much that you can every year come and do a paint restoration again, because you're going to need to get new paint again. You'll need to get your car repainted again, which can cost you thousands of dollars. So, what we've got right here is I've got a really wet, damp microfiber towel. These are 380 microfiber towels, and what that means is there's 380 piles within a square cubic meter. So 380, both of these are, and these are brand new right out of the package. I had just washed them just to make sure that there's no kind of, so you sometimes get fuzz, and I wanted to make sure that it was completely soft and durable. So we've got one that's wet with water, and we've got one that's dry. I've got any kind of spray wax, any kind of lubricant. You can use water, but because it's raining and this is a convertible, we're inside to protect the interior. I've got just a spray wax to use as lubrication, and then again the clay. Now clay was, the technique wasn't invented, but the technique was created in about the 1980s, and it was created by the Japanese, and it was just a simple idea, but has proven to be one of the most useful tools in a detailer's garage. And the idea is that there are contaminants inside of the pores of the paint, again, just like your skin, going back to the analogy. And you can't get those contaminants out of the pores by just washing it. You can sit there and scrub and scrub and scrub and scrub all you want. All you're doing is scratching the clear coat. You're not actually removing the contaminant. So what this does is it safely glides across the surface of the clear coat, and actually, like a magnet, pulls up the contaminants out of the pores of the paint and makes this paint completely, what I call, naked. So that when we lay the synthetic sealant down on the paint, it's not laying down on top of the clear coat. It's actually going to adhere and bond to it. So, wet towel, dry towel, spray wax, clay. So here we go. I've already washed the car again, because why use your clay to fight things that you could have easily washed off? So I want to show you real quick how I wash this. Let me pull these out because I'm scared that it's going to hit the paint. I didn't. First of all, I've never used power washers. You know me by now. I never use power washers, and I do everything by hand. But I did this car a little bit differently. I wet it down a lot, and then what I did is I lifted the towel off of the paint. I'm not grinding. I'm not doing anything like that. I am very delicately, I'm taking 2 fingers and taking this towel, which is super soap, super full of soap, moisturizer, lubricant, water, all of that stuff. And what I did is, this is a classic car. This is not a very everyday kind of driver car. It's not filthy. There's no need to be aggressive with this paint. So I took 2 fingers and I just gently let the towel do all the work. I just let it glide right down the paint and remove all of the surface contaminants. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to put clay to it to remove the contaminants that are in the pores of the paint. And my analogy is, which is an extreme one, but it is a very good visual. If you nail, say, a 9-inch nail into a 2x4, okay, you can grind off the head of the nail, and it'll look like there's no nail in the 2x4, but there is. And what the clay is going to do is it's actually going to pull the complete nail out of the 2x4. So think of it this way: if you have a nail nailed into a 2x4, you wash it. I know it's extreme, but it's just a good visual. You wash it, that's grinding off the head of the nail. The nail is still in the 2x4. The clay now is going to pull the nail out of the 2x4. So just to kind of give you an idea of exactly what's happening when this is going on. Okay, so all I'm going to do, I'm going to let the clay do the work. The whole idea here is not pressure. It's not anything like that. All it is friction. All it is I'm going to let this clay glide across the surface, and you can feel it. And that's why I do everything by hand. I don't do anything by machine unless I have to get a certain kind of temperature or something like that when I'm doing paint restorations. But everything else I like to do by hand because I can feel it. I can't feel it with a machine. And I can feel like a bump here. So I'm going to glide over this a little bit more. And you can't see it obviously, but it pulled it out. It's just a little black spot that I wouldn't have seen unless I had done this. So I'm just going to keep going over this until there's literally absolutely no friction between the clay and the clear coat. And that's telling me that the clear coat is now completely contaminant free. I'm going to do this to the entire car, and then we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, so now the entire car is completely contaminant free. We've clayed it. And now if you run your fingers across it, it is completely smooth. Now what we're going to do is we're going to dry it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to dry it. And I'm going to use my dry towel, but I'm going to I'm going to wet it just a little bit. And what that's going to do, I feel like it just picks up the maybe leftover specks or anything that I kind of missed that maybe the clay had pulled out but not pulled into the bar of clay. What this is going to do is it's just going to it just seems to pick it up a little bit easier and pull it into the piles of the microfiber towel. I'm also wetting it a little bit, not only to do that, but again, lubrication. Super important when you're dealing with paint, making sure that you're not scratching it, make sure that what you're doing is actually helping it and not causing defects. So, not only is it a little wet, I'm going to go ahead and spray just a little bit. This is just a lubricant, and then I'm just going to, again, very delicately go right over the surface. And because I'm doing a kind of a classic car, I'll flip these towels. I'll go through maybe 10, 15 towels. I have no problem going through as many towels as I need to make sure that this paint does not get harmed in any way. So, very delicately, just go right over the surface. Let the towel do most of the work. And I might have to go over it a bunch of times to make sure, to kind of get to the point where it's sort of dry. But it'll be all worth it in the end. So, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of this car, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's dry. We'll go ahead and start the synthetic sealant process. Alright, so here we go. The car is completely dry. What we're going to go ahead and do is the paint has been washed, it's been clayed, all the contaminants are free from it. We stripped all the previous wax off of the vehicle. The paint is completely naked. So now what we're going to do is we're going to seal it and really wrap this car in a real thick synthetic sealant. So before I do anything, what I'm going to do is what they call priming the pad. And what it basically is all of the pores of the pad are right now, they're completely dry. And I'm rubbing this onto the paint. Obviously, if I'm going to be talking about lubrication, and then I go and take a dry pad with a little bit of product on it, start grinding it into the paint, obviously somewhere along the lines that doesn't make sense. So what I'm going to do is called prime the pad, where I'm going to completely cover the pad in product so that all the pores are completely full of synthetic sealant, so that it's hydrated. Okay, so now the pad is hydrated. Now I'm going to put five dots just like that, smush it together, even distribution. And again, like I said, I'm using ammo. This is the Skin Coat Defense. This is his version of the synthetic sealant. I've got a brand new dry microfiber towel, same one. Put these headphones up. And then what I'm going to do is what I like to do, I'll take an area like that, make like a box, and spread it around, get it done evenly. And then I am going to put a real thick layer on it. Just like that. And I'm going to let this sit. The longer I let this sit, a little bit more difficult it is for me to kind of pull off the excess. Because what's going to happen is it's going to pull itself into the pores of the paint, and it's going to really kind of bond on top of the paint. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and just kind of buff out the excess. So there's still going to be a real thick layer on top of the clear coat. And all I'm doing is just kind of removing the leftover residue that's on top that didn't bond with the paint. So I'm going to do this to the rest of the car, and then I'll show you how to remove the excess. Alright, so I got synthetic sealant, really a thick layer wrapped around the whole car. But I went ahead and did where I started, and this is pretty much where I'm going to finish. So I'm going to go ahead and do this spot right now. So basically, real thick layer right on top of the clear coat, and all I'm going to do is I've got a little bit of hydrate on the towel, and all you do, simply just buff it out. All you're going to do, you don't need to use a lot of pressure. If the synthetic sealant's kind of, it's taking a little bit, it's kind of just real tough, real dry, depending on how long you leave it on. The idea is, again, not pressure. Maybe put a little bit of water on it, maybe a little bit of liquid wax, to just kind of moisten the wax, and then just kind of keep going over and over it again. Use a little bit of patience. But eventually, and unfortunately because it's raining, it's kind of, there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, so this isn't wanting to completely be dry. But this is what the paint will look like with just the synthetic sealant on it. Oh, you can actually see me looking at the camera. Okay, so this is what the synthetic sealant looks like. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on top of the synthetic sealant another layer of hydrate, spit wax, which I don't really need to show you guys. It's just very simple. Spray it on the towel, wipe, whatever you're working with, and then Carnauba wax. I'm going to show you not necessarily how to put it on, but just kind of the after effect of what it looks like when it is applied, and the fact that there is no hazing. You won't see any streaks or anything like that. So let me go ahead. I'm going to finish up the whole car. I'm just kind of keeping track of my time. Finish up the whole car, and then we'll go ahead. I'll pick this door just so you can get a frame of reference. I'm not going to move the camera, so it's the same shot. and then we'll apply the Carnauba wax, and then it's just all last minute details. But this right here, this is the Protection is Key package. We talked about the process. So you're gonna what I do, I'll hand wash the vehicle, I'll hand dry it, clay the vehicle from any contaminants, synthetic sealant on top of it, 2 layers of hydrate, liquid wax. Your wheels also get hydrated and shined. Tires are going to get hydrated and shined. It's been a long day. The wheels are going to get cleaned. Your wheel wells get cleaned. Your windows go through an oxidation removal process, which is basically removing the oxidation and the contaminants from the glass and then covering it in a hydrophobic product, which I use Rain-X. I'll use Rain-X to, again, protect the glass from making sure that no contaminants get inside the pores of the paint, so that way when it rains, the droplets aren't scattering everywhere. They're not, zigzagging all over the windshield. The idea of the product is to get that water right off the windshield. I drive and I don't even use windshield wipers really, because I keep up on my layers and layers of protection on top of the windshield. So as soon as that water comes in contact with the windshield, it's right off. It's like a slippery it's like the slippery slope, or however you want to word it. It slips right off the glass, and that's the idea with the paint too, is that if you're parked under a tree or whatever, anything comes in contact with the paint, that synthetic sealant says, "Get it off me," slides it right off of the side of it. So this is the Protection is Key package. This is what's going to protect your investment. This is what's going to make your paint look absolutely great. So let me go ahead. I'm going to finish the rest of this car, then we'll show you how to do the the Carnauba wax. Alright guys, so the entire car has been, all the residue from the synthetic sealant has been taken off, it's been buffed out. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to apply, and this isn't part of the Protection is Key package, I'm just kind of showing you just a real quick, the Protection is Key stops at the synthetic sealant and the claying and stuff like that. This is actually part of the showroom package. And because we're going to do this at a car show, I figured I'd just throw it in there for you guys real quick. But this is the Carnauba wax. This is the cream reflective paste from Ammo. And again, talking about your pads being primed. This applicator pad sits in here at all times, and so it keeps it in the pores of the applicator pad, so it's constantly primed. When you're applying synthetic sealant, use about medium pressure. I forgot to say that. And then when you're using Carnauba, just real light, right over. That way it becomes a mirror finish. You're not pushing the Carnauba wax into the synthetic sealant, the Carnauba wax. Yeah, you're not pushing the Carnauba wax into the synthetic sealant. The Carnauba is sitting right on top of the synthetic sealant, just like you want. So when the Carnauba wax burns up, boom, you've got that real thick layer of synthetic sealant underneath it. Alright, after that, we just buff it right off. So this is the final product. I absolutely loved doing this car, and I really can't wait to see this at the car show this Sunday. I apologize for rambling. It was really a long day. A lot of exciting things are happening real soon with Red Diamond. I'll have more videos up soon. And if you have any questions, email me at dogreen@ymail.com or go to reddiamonddetail.com for more information. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the field.